Today we'll be talking about Mars and Cancer and what this placement means through each of the houses. And so what does Mars represent? Mars represents action, willpower, motivation, and conflict. It's how we confront things in our life. It's how we accomplish things. And it's what motivates our actions. That's the key word. So if you understand your Mars placement, you understand what motivates you. Mars is considered debilitated in Cancer because it's exalted in Capricorn. Capricorn is about discipline, ambitions, and responsibilities, and it's the sign that opposes Cancer. And it's about doing things that we don't feel like doing. So this is why Mars in Cancer, in Capricorn, has such a high stamina, high self-discipline. However, in Cancer, Mars shows somebody that only feels motivated to do things when they feel like doing it. Keyword, feelings, feel. Because Cancer is the sign of emotion. On a positive note, it is a very creative sign. So where Cancer is strong, Capricorn is lacking. Mars in Capricorn can be less creative than this placement. And those that have Mars in Cancer can excel in the arts, or anything that requires an emotional influence. Art is an emotional expression, because good art is something that makes people feel something, whether it's joy, whether it's entertainment, whether it's sadness. People feel emotion towards art, and that's the art that they like, or that's the music that they like. So anyway, that's a tip for Mars and Cancer, is that they will be good at creative expression or hobbies, and they might lack drive or motivation towards ambitions and responsibilities. So anyway, Cancer is the sign of comfort and security. So those with Mars and Cancer are motivated by comfort or security. They are natural protectors because Mars is aggressive and competitive. So when it's in the sign of comfort, security, and privacy, these are natural protectors of others, especially those they care about, and especially of their comfort or their land or their security. Cancer rules the motherland. It rules one's home. So these people can fight in the army. They can be enlisted in the army. Some of them, will travel abroad and fight for their homeland. The reason why is Cancer is the 9th sign, using whole signs, from Scorpio, which is Mars' sign of rulership. And the 9th house, or the 9th sign, is about abroad. It's about travel. It's about faraway places. So Mars in this placement can show fighting in faraway places for one's motherland. In some people's lives will manifest like that. So anyway, to summarize Mars and Cancer, they need to have a strong emotional reason to do things in order to feel fully motivated. In other words, they need to feel like doing what they're doing. Hence why Mars is considered debilitated here, because it can struggle with ambitions. And when things are going well in life, they can get comfortable. However, when the things that are going well are threatened, they become more powerful than ever, and more powerful than any other Mars sign, perhaps, especially when family is threatened or when their security is threatened. So when the bills are due and the family is going through a period of struggle, these individuals show a side of motivation that you've never seen from them before. The reason why is, again, because of this 9th house connection. It's in the 9th sign from Scorpio. Scorpio is about desire and motivation. The 9th house is about abundance, expansion, excess. So they have an excess of energy when their emotions are triggered. So on another hand, Mars represents anger and conflict, and Cancer represents emotion and or family, and it's about our roots, So those with this placement can struggle with issues of anger, some of them, or the family can struggle with anger. Like the family could have a history of conflict, anger, and domestic abuse, or one of the three things. Perhaps they have an angry parent, somebody that is impulsive and has a short temper, or they could have a grandfather or a grandparent or an ancestor like this that had a prominent, this was a prominent part of their legacy, and their image. So again, Mars and Cancer are natural protectors or defenders, and when the emotion is there for them, they are the most unstoppable force or the most active of the Mars placements. So finally, this placement will show somebody that has strong convictions or beliefs or the will to fight for those things. So when people disagree with their convictions or try to say that they're false, these individuals will get competitive or combative about that, especially when there's issues of power or control involved in the discussion. And again, this is because these are protectors of their territory. So now let's talk about a few celebrities that have this placement, and go ahead and check which house that you have Mars and Cancer in. And there will be a timestamp in the description to skip forward to your Mars placement. Chris Brown has this placement, and of course he has a history with anger and domestic abuse, especially within his family and his past. Miley Cyrus is another person with Mars and Cancer, and she has strong impulsive energy as well. Keanu Reeves had this placement. Lana Del Rey, Zayn Malik, Zendaya, the actress and singer. Wolfgang Mozart, who is a tremendous artist, has this placement, and he had it in his 10th house, which is about profession. So he took a hobby or like a personal interest that his heart was very into, which is music and composition, and he turned that into his main ambition and into a major legacy for himself. So then there is also Robin Williams, who has this placement. Audrey Hepburn, Marine Le Pen, Halle Berry, Ashton Kutcher, Shawn Mendes, Lionel Messi, Meghan Markle, Pablo Picasso, who is another artist, had this placement in the 12th house, and we'll see how that is a very creative placement, very abstract placement for Mars. And I believe Chris Brown also has it in the 12th house, and he's artistic, musical as well. Or it's like conjunct his 12th house cusp, I believe. Cardi B has this placement, and she's known to have a little bit of a temper as well. Again, Mars represents anger, competition, aggression, and the sign Cancer is about emotions, Pink, the singer, Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hardy, Halsey, the singer. So a lot of musicians have this placement, a lot of artists. William Shakespeare has this placement. Warren Buffett, the investor, and it's important to note that Cancer represents growth and investments, and it's very slow and steady sign, so having Mars there makes sense for such a prominent investor and financial figure. Stephen King has this placement. Kendrick Lamar, and a lot more people that I have not mentioned here. But with that being said, now let's talk about another person that has this placement is Travis Scott, who is another artist, another creative. Jaden Smith. Anyway, now let's talk about what this placement means through each of the houses. So, if you have Mars in Cancer in the first house, which represents our personality and our first impression. You have a strong personality. You radiate strength. Also, Mars gives physical strength when it's in the first house, so it will often give a muscular appearance to the male that has this, and a very fit, athletic physique to the women as well. And overall, you have some sort of impulsiveness or fiery aspect to your personality that is apparent. So you could be a little bit hot-headed, carry a little bit of anger or passion that is an innate part of your personality and like how you come across. Next, if you have Mars in Cancer in the second house, this shows that you are motivated by stability and security. And these people will be money motivated as well. They will like to work in order to expand their security and expand their savings for the future. They're also very practical minded people. So they always need to know the outcome of things before they commit to taking an action, or they need to know all the factors that are involved. These people also have a love of comfort and pleasure, so their Mars can be in the pursuit of those things. So sometimes this placement will show a tendency towards indulgence, or binge eating, or just gluttony sometimes, or excess because of an emotional kind of thing, like they want to like fulfill their emotions through consuming pleasure or something. So next, this leads us to Mars in Cancer in the third house. Mars in the third house is enterprising. It is which basically means they have ideas and they like to act on those ideas, and they can be a little bit experimental as well. But this can lead to good results. Generally speaking, though, Mars in Cancer will bestow patience. So they're not as scattered or risk takers as like other Mars in the third house placements. And usually they, not usually, but I mean, the other thing about them is they have this ability to commit to an idea long term. And a lot of times this will make their ideas work out, because something that Mars in the third house usually lacks is this ability to commit. Because they can be so scattered, and every time a new idea or a new opportunity comes up, they lose focus. They can be natural multitaskers as well. And while you might carry some of those qualities, Mars in Cancer shows that you like to invest patiently towards an outcome. You like to commit towards things and watch them grow. So you like to plant seeds, which would take the form of your ideas and commit to them long term. And that's kind of your action process. Also, in terms of how you pursue people, because Mars shows how we pursue things that we love or that we're attracted to, or people, it will show that you have a verbal way of pursuing. So you could be flirtatious, or you could just be verbally directing your interest towards people, and you let your heart on your sleeve. So like you're kind of open with your emotions, or like that's how you approach somebody that you're into, is that you would just open up about your feelings to them. And sometimes it can be well received, sometimes it doesn't. So that's Mars in the third house in Cancer. Next, this leads us to the fourth house. So Mars in Cancer in the fourth house, they're mostly motivated to maintain things, or motivated by security. Fourth house is about stability, roots, foundations, etc. And it opposes the 10th house. The 10th house is about ambitions. It's about being constructive, and it's about building. So 10th house is all about maintaining things. So they will have a more lazy or comfortable disposition when when they're comfortable and when things are all right in their life. And they usually only get kicked into action when they have to rectify something or when their security is threatened. Also, as with the other Mars and Cancer placements, in general, like Mars and Cancer shows somebody that's just motivated to do things only when they feel like doing them, or like when they're actually emotionally invested into the outcome. So like when they care about it. So these people are more productive towards their hobbies and stuff than towards like ambitions in the outside world, and like towards exterior goals and stuff. So anyway, that is Mars and Cancer in the 4th house. Next, this takes us to Mars and Cancer in the 5th house. Mars and Cancer in the 5th house has a strong ego, and they can be sensitive individuals. Their ego can be sensitive because Cancer is about emotions. Mars is defensive when it's in Cancer and is like aggressive and strong. And in the 5th house, this is about our ego, and also it's about self-expression, being creative. So Mars and Cancer in the 5th house feels motivated to express their emotions through creative outlets. That's where they're going to find themselves the most productive, because they have trouble with feeling motivated towards discipline or like ambitions sometimes. Keyword sometimes, because depending on the rulers of the houses, which you can find out more about your own chart by getting a reading with me, those things will, sometimes change one's relationship to discipline and stuff like that. So anyway, though, Mars in the 5th house in Cancer will really fight for what they believe in emotionally. So when they have a strong emotional feeling, they get more proactive or impulsive, or they want to like act on it or express it. So it does well for them to express it artistically, rather than getting into a disagreement, a conflict, or a shouting match with other people. Because again, the 5th house is very expressive. It's about ego. So either way, they'll have this energy that they have to release their anger, release their emotions through expression. And also Mars in the 5th house can give athletic talents, because Mars is athletic. The 5th house is about performance, being seen, or it's about our capabilities. So you guys have athletic capabilities as well that might play out through a sport that you're into. So these people may also like love sports, or they might have a hobby that they care about, which is related to the physical body, and that's one of the few things they have a lot of discipline or energy to do. So next, this leads us to Mars in Cancer in the 6th house. Mars in Cancer here gets very comfortable in a routine and in a way of life that is familiar. So they're very comfortable with familiarity, and that's how their energy operates. Once they find momentum and they find a habitual groove that suits them, they can be quite productive. However, they would tend to build a comfort zone around that, and they might not break out of it. So their life can be cyclical or like mundane, or at least like their actions. And they might have trouble, breaking out of that box at times, or like ambitions might not motivate them as much as just staying comfortable. So that's Mars in Cancer in the 6th house. They also like to run errands. They like to accomplish practical matters around the house too, because the 6th house is about tasks, errands, responsibilities, and Cancer is about home life, or being a homemaker, home care person. So next, this leads us to Mars in Cancer in the 7th house. Mars is in fall in the 7th house, and it's debilitated in Cancer, I believe. Or, it's either debilitated or another term, but either way, this placement can sometimes lack motivation because it's like your motivation might come from other people. It's like you always need accountability in order to perform at your best. And yeah, anyway, Mars in Cancer in the 7th house also has the quality of providing for others. So this is what motivates them to take action. 7th house is about others, and Cancer is about nurturing or providing, and Mars is about motivation. In the 8th house, Mars in Cancer gives the energy of survival. It is the opposing house from the 2nd house. The 2nd house is about stability, and the 8th house is about lack. It's a malefic house. So, for one, Cancer represents security. So Mars shows this motivation for security when it's in Cancer, and this motivation towards comfort. And a lot of times, this is why Mars is considered debilitated in Cancer, because it can lack drive or ambition. However, the 8th house is a house that is ruled by Mars, and where Mars does excellent because it's about motivation. And it's also about lack. So these individuals are always in pursuit of more stability or more security and more comfort. And it's like they can never get enough stability in their lives. They can never get enough resources or enough emotional fulfillment. And it could come from trauma or like a difficult upbringing. The 8th house is about trauma, and Mars can be about physical forms of trauma, but in a general sense, trauma can motivate them endlessly to seek more and more security in the external world. So this can give them drive to succeed. Next, this takes us to the 9th house, meaning of Mars in Cancer. The 9th house is about knowledge and beliefs. So those that have Mars in the 9th house, they fight for their convictions. They can be strongly opinionated, or they can express their opinions forcefully, or like in an agitated or like high energy manner. Cancer is about family and tradition. So when it's in this combination with the 9th house and Mars is here, it will show somebody that tends to enact things through traditional manner. So like they will go the path of tradition when it comes to accomplishing things, and when it comes to striving for goals, they will have more traditional goals or more traditional trajectory in life, and they seek to live comfortably and to have a life of security and stability, because that's what Cancer is really about. And they look towards their ancestors or their parents or their grandparents as an example of how to do things. And so anyway, these people can fight a lot for traditional values or for values and beliefs that were ingrained into them in their upbringing and through family. So next, this leads us to Mars in Cancer in the 10th house. The 10th house is about our reputation. So when you have Mars here, which is about the physique, it's about the physical body, you could be professionally or publicly known for some sort of physical hobby or talent that you are engaged in. So either you could be a trainer, you could be a coach, you could be a fitness influencer with this placement, especially for many of you guys. This could be the case because Cancer rules photography, it rules memories, it rules like documentation of things, it rules like the past, and it represents emotions and memory. So anyway, many people that have Mars and Cancer in the 10th house will have public records of their fitness journey. Like they will be influencers of some sort when it comes to physical activity. The other thing is Mars in the 10th house gives you a lot of ambition, and I feel like you guys are ambitious to succeed in a field that's personally significant to you or to your hobbies and to your interests. So like you guys want to take something artistic or something that is a hobby and you guys want to like turn it into a profession, or you guys want to succeed and be recognized for what it is that you do. Cancer is about our personal hobbies, our personal interests, our creative talents, and a lot of times those things oppose Capricorn. They oppose the 10th house. Cancer opposes the sign of the 10th house, and that's why it rules things that are privately fulfilling, but you know, they might not get professional recognition. But when Mars is in Cancer and it's in the 10th house, there's like this drive to succeed at those things, like to take your painting hobby and turn it into a massively successful business or online page or something like that, or perhaps taking your fitness interest and turning that into a goal. A lot of the interests that you guys might have might be related to the physical body. And then there can also be this interest in other things, but you have a lot of drive to make it into a career. Like basically take something that's not a career and turn it into a career. So next there is Mars in Cancer in the 11th house. Mars in the 11th house can make somebody rebellious and self-reliant. The 11th house is quite independent, especially like independent from systems. They're independent from control or from authority. However, the 11th house also represents groups. So those that have Mars in the 11th house in Cancer will find their highest motivation when they are part of a group cause or a group interest. Cancer is about emotions and interests. The 11th house is about the collective. So when there is a collective of people that care about a common goal, this is what also motivates you to perform or to join in. Like it motivates you to perform at your highest level. However, when you could be alone or when you don't have the outside accountability of others, or when you don't sense that something is a collective goal, you might struggle more with ambition and with being proactive. Next, and actually finally, this leads us to the 12th house, the final house of the zodiac. And in this case, we're talking about Mars and Cancer in the 12th house. So where these individuals will find their motivation is through the imagination and through creative outlets. The 12th house is the realm of possibilities, of spirituality, and of the subconscious mind. So what's unique about this Mars placement is that although in Cancer Mars is considered debilitated, these individuals, like this house group of people, the 12th house group, they have this ability to psych themselves up, and they have this ability to to tap into their subconscious or to their imagination in order to find motivation. Visualization is very important for these individuals. And overall, Cancer represents fulfillment, and it's about emotions. It's about wanting to do things. It's about feeling like doing things. So a lot of times they can have hard time with ambitions or discipline, because a lot of times that requires us to do things we don't feel like doing. But since Mars is in the 12th house, if they can imagine the emotional fulfillment that something can bring them, then it will help motivate them, because these people are natural dreamers. They're naturally inspired. They're naturally very creative as well. And in fact, the number one outlet for their Mars energy, or for their actions, is through creative outlets, artistic outlets, because that's where they'll find endless motivation. The 12th house is about the infinite. And whereas they might have difficulty doing physically difficult tasks, or like physically laborious things, they might have an easier time being productive if they're doing something like creative or imaginative. Anyway, that is Mars in Cancer through each of the houses. Peace.